Hey guys, MuJK here. There is a lot to cover, a lot of new updates coming up, so let's get started with the least interesting of those. The first thing is Chamber of Crystals, and this is basically, just regular vortex stages where you can run through, get a few crystals per run. It's not particularly energy efficient. You're probably better off doing like, certain exploration maps, and you can get experience that way too. So I don't typically do too much on this unless I'm like close to starting an Esper or things like that. So if this was the only thing coming up, then maybe, but I'm guessing that not a lot of people will be running this too hard. Enchanted Maze. Now, for those of you who are playing back, I don't even remember when the last time this came around was, but it was probably a couple months ago, and it's actually a very good little I don't know if you can call it an event, but it's a vortex maze that you go through, and it's pretty fun, and you get a lot of good prizes for your energy. You can get gill snappers, gigantoirs, rare mini burst pots, and some awakening materials. I just remember this being very energy efficient. You get a lot for per run, unless they really nerfed it or something. But now they're including 6-star awakening materials, so it's very, very useful. Basically, what you do is you go through this little quote unquote maze. You basically choose a path. Typically, there'll be about 3 different tunnels that you can go through, and it's completely random. And depending on whether you choose the right one or not, you can proceed to the next stage or the next, crossroads, I guess you can call it. And if you keep choosing the right one, you're getting more and more prizes when you beat the enemies. And then at the end, you can get mini burst pods, scream roots, things like that, things that you would normally not be able to farm very easily. If you're very unlucky, you'll pick the wrong one from the first path, and then you'll just end up with like, one prize. But even then, it's like, not such a waste of energy. It's still pretty good. These are the rare 6-star materials that you'll get. So very excited about this. If you have a little bit of luck, you can get a ton per run. Now, new story character Charlotte. A lot of us already have Charlotte. She appeared originally on the first Lightning banner way back when. It was like Lightning, Charlotte, and Ludmill. And in retrospect, that was actually a really good banner. I mean, obviously, Lightning was good. Ludmill had the dual cast TM, which is, in my opinion, one of the most important. Unless you're an overpowered team with a bunch of dual wields and all this stuff, dual cast on a healer, for instance, like Refia, really makes a huge difference. Possibly the biggest difference as far as keeping your party alive and things like that. So that was a really good banner. But anyway, if you're all caught up on the story, it looks like they're going to be adding a little bit of story for Charlotte, who is a FFBE character. The coolest thing about this is that she's going to be getting this exclusive shield, Patriot, and it gives her 37 defense, 10 spirit, which is nice. But much more than that, it gives her the skill Cleansing Light, which is kind of like comeback for Cloud of Darkness. But the fact that it's on Charlotte, who is a tank, and quite honestly doesn't necessarily have a lot to do per turn. I mean, if you can like provoke on her, but then a lot of the time she doesn't have any good attack. She doesn't really have a lot of other skills that you'll be using. So adding something like this to her toolkit makes her a much more interesting character, especially when you're up against tough trial bosses who do a lot of status ailments and things like that. So it definitely makes her interesting. And as we know, Japan recently got a 6-star form of her as well. So Charlotte is definitely looking up. I'm looking forward to getting that. Not necessarily going to put her in my party, but who knows, maybe stash it away for later when she's 6 stars. New units to awaken. Another exciting thing is I'm going to be getting the 6-star Chizuru. Oops, sorry about that. So as some of you know, she was the best 5-star character for a while when she first came out, and then she quickly got overshadowed once 6-star meta hit us and everything like that. But she's going to be pretty viable again once she hits 6 stars. I'm definitely gonna try to get her for her TM at least, but I'm probably going to use her on my team as well. And we'll go into more detail in just a bit because what I need to show you next is the banner where Noctis is finally here. People knew that he was coming, and he's a Final Fantasy 15 protagonist, probably the main one, I think. And everybody was assuming he'd come around this time and that he would be really good. We actually don't know too much about him yet, but we do know a lot about these other three characters on the banner. As you can see, there are three six-star characters on this banner. So this is a very, very good banner. And Charlotte, as I mentioned before, goes to 6 stars later in Japan. So literally all of these characters are good in some way or another. Um, so the first character and probably the main prize of this banner is Noctis, the Final Fantasy 15 protagonist. Um, there isn't too much information on him yet, and I think that's kind of intentional. I think they're trying to like keep people's interest up in the Lightning banner for now, keep them pulling, so that they'll waste their lap base and tickets, and then they'll have to buy more to pull this guy once it comes out how awesome he is. My guess is that he's going to be really good because he's just coming out in Japan too, and they're not going to release somebody who's weak in Japan right now. They're going to release somebody who's going to be good enough for people to want to pull him. So the fact that we're getting a 6 star form of him, which is the equivalent of Japan. I mean, they might have enhancements for him to make him better, but it's a very good sign that he's going to be really, really strong. He's going to be a top tier attacker for all situations, according to this. His Trustmaster reward, we have no idea what this Alterna thing is, but Death and Holy, it's makes it pretty interesting for as an accessory. I don't know if it's going to be a top priority Trustmaster grind, but if you put this on like a healer or somebody who you can spam some holy when she's not healing every turn or something like that. I mean, that could definitely be pretty interesting. Actually, I don't remember if Holy Spirit or Magic, but it could definitely be interesting. But until we know what Alterna is, we don't really have a good assessment of how good it is. Now, looking at the stats, our guess, I think, is that it's going to be a hybrid type of character. I mean, attack is 158, which is good, but not, absolutely the highest for a 6 star once all passives and things are factored in. But look at the MP, it's 200, and then magic is also high, 150. It's almost as high as the attack. Even spirit is pretty high too. So, we're looking at a possible hybrid character who does, hybrid attacks, and definitely there's going to be elemental attacks and things like that, status ailments, also heals and lowers enemy stats. It looks like a debuff, a healer, attacker, just kind of all in one unit. So I'd be very curious to see once information comes out. Could be a really slot efficient unit, really powerful. Again, if he's just coming out in Japan, he cannot be bad. So this is going to be a very exciting banner, I think. The next character is Mercedes. We're going to go into more detail on these last three characters here, but just a quick overview. She's definitely an attacker, and she gives us finally a good axe in global, a 125 attack. That's the highest attack for any weapon, actually. It does have water elemental, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on the circumstances, but it's interesting and that we finally have a good axe. And, maybe all those Lonnie TMs that we're getting from pulling her could finally be useful, maybe in some circumstances. So we'll go deeper into her in just a second. Chizuru, we already talked about her. Whether or not you use her in your main party, I think that a lot of people will want her at least for her Trustmaster reward, because as far as like one materia that you can put on to boost your attack the most, I'd say Blade Mastery is right up there, if not the best one, because if that character that you're putting it on can equip katanas anyway, and you get a 50% boost to attack right off the bat, that's better than any 30% boost you can get or 20% boost, which are already good. So definitely a TM to farm up. I'd say this falls like right under something like dual wield, dual cast, Genji glove, things like that. This is really up there. So I have one Chizuru. Definitely want to have a few to get this TM, at least one of them. And then Charlotte, again, we mentioned that she came out earlier on the Lightning banner. Her Trustmaster reward is not that great. Equip Heavy Shield, I mean, that's going to be very situational. It's kind of hard to think of a situation where you'd want to do that right now, but who knows? Maybe it could be a Lonnie situation where a heavy shield comes out later that you really want to put on somebody. So, but she is a tank. She's only 5 stars. She's a decent tank for a 5 star character. But yeah, why don't we go right into it now? So Charlotte, 5 star character, does go to 6 star in Japan later, but it's going to be quite a while for us. She has decent HP, 2700 for 5 star. Defense is 104, could be higher, but kind of gets the job done, I guess. She is able to equip kind of just basic stuff. She's not going to be a great attacker anyway, so her weapon selection doesn't really matter. Although it would be nice if she could put on a hammer, so she could. I think it's called Mighty Hammer or Blessed Hammer. I forgot which one it is, but it's the one that gives you 15% HP. That's a shame that she can't put that on, but it is what it is. She can put on heavy armor and things like that, so that's what's important. Again, her Patriot exclusive shield is going to be really good. Add a lot to her toolkit so that she's just not standing around wasting turns, wasting turns on things that aren't really necessary. Her abilities aren't really all that special, to be honest. She has some decent passives, like 20% defense, only 10% HP. She increases physical damage against undead and demons, but I mean, where are her attack abilities? She doesn't really have any, unless she's just going to power break over and over. So she's not really there to attack. Up till this point, all she really did was tank. She has a chance to protect party members and mitigates damage. So this is like a weaker version of 6 star Cecil, who has 75% here. But 50% with 50% mitigation is not bad. For a 5 star, this makes her the best. She has the best innate tank skills for a 5 star. She does also have Shelga. So if you're not running somebody who has focus on your team, for instance, if you don't have a Cecil, which would be a reason to use her as a tank, Shelga could come in handy. You could have, you could have your healer putting up Embolden or Cheer to give you Protecka and the attack boost, but Shelga would cover your magic defense there. So that's one way to use her. Other than Shelga, you're pretty much going to be using her to just possibly power break if you don't have a full break or something like that. And then you could use Patriot to get rid of status ailments. So it does make her situational. Not an ideal tank in most situations, but if you don't want to use COD or something, this is one option for you. Mercedes is actually a pretty powerful unit. Thankfully, she's a base 4-star. So I will say this banner features 2 of the best non-base 5-star damage dealers in Mercedes and Chizuru. So if you're not able to get Lunith, Lightning, Gilgamesh, Elza, things like that, this banner is really, really for you. Mercedes is going to be pretty attainable at 4 stars and goes up to 6 stars. Her HP is pretty good. Her attack is, this is on par with like Lunith and those guys. 146, that's good. Now, I will say that if you use her, especially if you're only single wielding, you definitely want to get her TM. And you'll see in just a second why. She is able to equip daggers, swords, and hammers, which gives her some options. But if you're not equipping an axe on her, you're really losing out on a lot of stuff. And really, the only good axe in the entire game right now is her TM. So if you're going to try to roll with Mercedes, you might want to consider pulling 2 of her. It just makes TM farming that much easier. Some people are able to grind TMs from one character. I've seen a lot of Maxwell TMs already. I don't know how they do that so quickly. I'm sure they use a lot of Lab Beasts, but if I were to use Mercedes, I'd definitely get 2 of her, just so I could farm up that TM faster and then, fuse them together to get that axe. Because without an axe, she's going to be much, much weaker. And the main reason for that, obviously, is because she gets a 50% attack increase passively when she has the axe. Without the axe, she only gets 20%. So she has the potential of getting 70% here. She does come with Barrage, which is okay, which is pretty good. At this stage of the game, it's nothing special anymore. She's good against aquatic monsters. She also has Mug, so I guess in some situations, that's nice to have somebody who can, uh, you know, steal items and things like that. And Warcry, increased attack for 3 turns to all allies. I guess that could be good if your healer's tied up, healing instead of putting up cheer and embolden. And then she has this really nice single target attack, 2.7. It also decreases water resistance. So this is like her version of crushing blow, except it reduces water resistance instead of lightning. So if you do this attack plus you're using barrage with her TM, which is a water elemental, you'll be doing a lot more damage. She also has water gun, but I mean her magic's not anything special. You're probably not going to use that. And then her limit burst is pretty good, water physical damage to all enemies. So if we come up against bosses who are weak to water, she will be your top choice for that, or at least her TM will be, which is why I mentioned that Lonnie might be a TM that you might actually want to stash, so you can put that axe on somebody. And then Chizuru, we already know a lot about her from her 5-star form. She was good because of her barrage and kind of her innate high attack for a 5-star at least. Like she had a 20% boost and she had pretty good stats. As you can see here, 120 was pretty much the max for a 5-star. And 154 as 6-star is probably the highest, I think, base. And she's only able to equip daggers and katanas, but you definitely want to have a katana on her. And as you can guess, it's probably for a similar reason as Mercedes with the axe. So she has barrage and all these things. Molt is her way of negating physical damage, kind of like lightning can dodge stuff. This is her way of doing that passively, which is nice. Glint is possibly her new go-to skill against single enemies. With a 2x and a 25% defense ignore, it works out to like, I want to say a 2.66 multiplier, which is almost as good as, say, Cloud of Darkness is called the Void, which is a 2.1 here, with the same ignore defense, but this is only 19 MP, so it's very MP efficient. And if you're only up against, if you want to hit one enemy without the randomness of barrage again, you want to use glint so that you can target that enemy. And again, it's only 19 versus like, other skills that are 45 or so forth. Hayate, this could be a really good skill if she's in danger of dying or there's a big attack coming up from a boss. She can cast this and then she's basically going to nullify damage for the next 2 turns. And this is up to 3 hits per turn. So if you have multiple enemies hitting her or whatever, it's going to negate 3 of those attacks per turn. Dismissal, another interesting option. It's a 2.1 multiplier. It's weaker than Glint, but it does have that 30% chance to stop an enemy. So situationally useful. Maybe if your party's struggling to get back on its feet, you might want to stop the boss for a second or for a round. And oh wow, 3 turns. Never mind. That would be kind of crazy if that works on a boss. So that has some potential there. Here's why you want to equip a katana, at least one katana. You get 25% to all her main stats. So that brings up her passive attack up by 45% instead of 20. And then she has Phantom Shadow, which is the one that I'm most excited about. This is 35 MP. This is like her best skill. It's 1.4 AoE, which is, on its own would be a Blade Blitz, which would be okay. It's nice. I've always wanted AoE on Chizuru, but with ignored defense of 50%, that effectively comes up to a 2.8 AoE. So now this is, on paper, the second best physical AoE that we have in the entire game after Gilgamesh's, but some people are talking about how good this is to chain. It's apparently 5 hits. So if you have a couple of Chizurus or you're able to chain this with somebody else, you could really make this do a ton of damage against multiple enemies. So this is going to be a really good skill. And then her limit burst is just a single target attack, nothing really special. So yeah, that's the banner here. We have really good non-base 5-star attackers on this banner, and for a lot of people, this is going to be like your way of buffing your party without spending a ton of money. Um, we've been kind of lacking this for a while, so I'm really excited about this. Um, yeah, I really think that Noctis is going to turn out to be really good, but even if I don't get him, getting the Chizuru TMs, or even having two of her to chain with their Phantom Blade, I think that's what it's called. Having two of her to chain that would be really good. Mercedes is going to be a powerhouse, especially against water weak enemies. And then Charlotte in the future apparently becomes good. She gets like MP recovery and things like that for the party. So I think this is a really good banner. I've been saving up for a while on my main account, and I've been kind of itching to pull on something. So this is going to be really good. So anyway, that was my big update. Hope the video didn't go too long, and I just try to lump it all together. But yeah, I'm gonna pull on this with all 4 of my accounts, so I'll have some cool pulling videos coming up. So stay tuned with that. Good luck with your pulling, save your lap bits and tickets, and see you next time.